The tension in this hearing was unreal. Senator John Kennedy grilled nominee Adeel Morrison. Can prosecutors just ignore the law? What followed was uncomfortable, revealing how power and accountability are debated in real time. It all began with a simple question from Senator Kennedy. Which branch of government passes criminal statutes? Ms. Morrison answered, the legislative branch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to all of you. I enjoyed hearing about and meeting some of your family members. Ms. Morrison, which branch of government passes criminal statutes?
The legislative branch.
Yes, ma'am. And legislators, of course, I think we can agree, are elected by the people. Do you think it would be fair to say that the people in our legislators define criminality for our communities?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. Do you think it's appropriate for a district attorney to decide to ignore criminal statutes and not to prosecute an entire line of cases?
Then came the real question. Is it appropriate for a district attorney to simply not prosecute an entire line of crimes? Simple on the surface, but loaded with political weight. Morrison answered carefully, stressing that prosecutors are elected and have discretion. But Kennedy pushed, what if a DA refuses to prosecute certain crimes?
What do you think about that issue? Do you think it's let me ask you again. Do you think it's appropriate for prosecutors to say, I disagree with the legislature and the people, and I'm not going to prosecute an entire line of cases?
Senator, I think it is appropriate for prosecutors to evaluate each case that comes before them, and almost every prosecutor.
But that's not what I'm asking. I know you, you're smart, okay? I can tell from your resume. Let me say it again. The people elect their legislators. Legislators say on behalf of the people, this is a crime which society will not tolerate without punishment. Do you think that it's okay for prosecutors to say, I disagree and I'm not going to prosecute an entire line of cases, I don't care who is charged? Do you agree with that?
Senator, I agree that prosecutors have the legal option to use the flexibility given to them.
No, but when they exercise that option, do you agree with that?
I think it would depend on the circumstance under which they're exercising it and what the rationale was for their decision.
Well, what are the...
Morrison wouldn't give a clear yes or no, circling back to context. Kennedy accused her of dodging. This was turning into a chess match. Then came the name drop, Larry Krasner, Philadelphia's DA. Kennedy asked if Morrison thought he was doing a good job. She replied she hadn't worked on his campaign.
What do you think about the job being done by District Attorney Krasner? I believe you worked for the District Attorney's re-election or election. Do you think he's doing a good job or a bad job?
Senator, I did not actually work on District Attorney Krasner's campaign. I've been an adversary of that office.
I apologize. Do you think he's doing a good job or a bad job?
Senator, I don't think it would be appropriate as a judicial nominee for me to comment on the performance of an elected official.
Why not?
Because there is always a chance that a case could come before me in which someone has, say, a prior conviction from Philadelphia who's then prosecuted in New York, and any commentary that I made on that office could be grounds
Isn't that convenient? Do you think judges, apparently you think that prosecutors should be able to say, we're not going to prosecute a line of cases and a group of crimes despite the solemn expression of a legislative will? Do you think judges should be able to do that? Say, I don't agree with this criminal statute, I'm not going to prosecute, I'm not going to hear cases for any of them.
No, Senator, judges do not prosecute cases, and
I know.
Kennedy pressed, then said, isn't that convenient? The tension was palpable. This was about more than law. The core debate, should prosecutors have the power to ignore laws based on personal or political beliefs, even when those laws are clear? Kennedy argued that's dangerous. Prosecutors aren't above the law, and refusing to prosecute undermines the will of the people. Morrison countered that discretion is a necessary part of the job, especially with limited resources. In the final minutes, Kennedy pressed, what about judges?
I know that, But do you think a judge should say, I don't want to hear, I'm going to dismiss all these cases because I don't agree with the criminal statute? I think you understand my question, Ms. Morrison.
I do, Senator, and I would, I'm trying to recall how you phrased the question. I would agree with you, or at least my position would be that judges cannot refuse to adjudicate or hear a case and ignore the will of the
But
legislature.
district attorneys can.
As executives, they are granted with greater discretion. For example, district attorneys day in and day out
A whole
receive
line of cases.
complaints from the police that they then evaluate based on the evidence.
Do you
and
think a
decide
district
process.
attorney, it's appropriate for a district attorney saying, look, in the name of social justice, I'm not going to prosecute armed robberies anymore? You agree with that?
Senator, I would stand on my previous answer. I think it would depend on the circumstance. I'm not aware of any district attorney in the country that
How
has
can I
said.
vote for you if you won't answer a straightforward question like that, Counselor?
Senator, I would hope that you would consider the entirety of my record and my qualifications and the work that I've
The
done.
problem is I have. And I see all these comments you've made in favor of the district attorneys who, in the name of social justice, and you've spoken glowingly of all of them, and now you won't answer my question about it. You say it's inappropriate. And I just don't, I think it's really appropriate.
Should they ignore laws they disagree with? Morrison said no, judges must rule on the law. But on prosecutors, she said, it depends. Kennedy closed. That's not good enough. This moment matters because the balance between public will and institutional discretion is being tested. Prosecutors are rethinking which crimes to prioritize, often in the name of reform. But when does reform become defiance? Senator Kennedy calls it overreach. Morrison says it's a gray area. This exchange reminds us, law, politics, and power are never simple. Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more honest breakdowns. Catch you in the next video.